Boy, this is a question we get quite a bit. Let's talk about the 4 metrics that reveal the cash value of your business. Hey, it's Scott Peavy with Business on Purpose. Go check us out at mybusinessonpurpose.com/healthy. The number stunned me when I first read it. I was actually going through CEPA training, Certified Exit Planning Advisory training. 80% of a business owner's net worth is locked away in the asset of their business. Can you imagine 80% of your retirement dollars being bottled up in one stock? The cash flow of the business can often quell the desire for an owner to diversify their assets into anything beyond the business. A business can be a high return asset for sure, and with it, equally high risk, even though it doesn't feel like it because theoretically we can control it. A standard question for any business owner to ask is simply, how much is my business worth if I ever wanted to sell it? Well, the short answer is whatever a buyer will pay for it. I sound like a real estate agent, don't I? There are ways to begin to have an educated idea on what your business would actually sell for out in the open market. So here are 4 metrics that I thought might be helpful for you to know when getting prepared to understand a reasonable market valuation for your business. And it's not just good to know this number when you're about to sell or about to transition. This is a good number to know so that you can start to build value based on where it exists today. Remember, 80% of the value of your net worth is locked in this one asset. So before we lay out this framework, be reminded that we are not financial or legal advisors, and all such decisions should be consulted by financial and legal professionals. First, all business owners must understand what's called their wealth gap. This is the gap between what the owner will need to live on if the cash flow of the business were to end due to the sale of their business. I know it's hard to think about, but once you sell a business, you don't get income anymore. The majority of owners elect not to sell their business, some upwards of 70 to 80%, because of a lack of personal planning, or because they get cold feet, or because they're not sure how they're going to continue to generate income. So you might have an owner sell a business for $5 million, and you think, wow, that's $5 million. Well, it's actually a lot less than that once you consider taxes and other expenses and payoffs that usually occur in the event of a business sale. Living off of the interest of what is left is usually not enough to cover the lifestyle of the owner prior to selling, thus leaving the owner in need of an income-generating job or starting another business, which is usually not the desire of a recently exited owner. It's usually the last thing they want to do. The wealth gap allows an owner to reasonably look at what they will need in the bank in order to live out the rest of their life at the lifestyle bar that they've set for themselves. So as an owner, you will simply take the annual number that you wish to live on in the future and divide it by whatever reasonable rate of return you expect to gain on your invested wealth. So for instance, if you need to live on $100,000, you'll divide that by 4 or 6 or 8 or 2 or 10%, whatever your financial professional has helped you to understand is a reasonable rate of return for you. And then you'll have that big number on your calculator. You'll then ask your CPA for a net worth statement, not including your business. I want to say that again. You'll ask your CPA for a net worth statement or maybe a balance sheet, not including your business. The delta between your non-business net worth and that large number on your calculator, that's your wealth gap. The large number you see on your calculator will then be that thing that you want to start shooting for, and that'll be the delta between what you currently have in net worth without your business and what you'll need your business to fill that gap in that wealth gap that we call. Second, you'll want to ask your CPA for a recasted set of financials showing your recasted EBITDA, or earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, or amortization. Now, you might have heard this EBITDA number put different ways. I've heard it EBITDA, I've heard it EBITDA. There's all sorts of things that people say, but it's EBITDA, earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization. Any CPA will know what you're talking about. Recasted financials will often include add backs or adjustments. So say you're paying yourself $150,000 in salary, or $50,000 or $350,000 when you sell your business. And you find out that you nor the role you play will be needed for the new owner going forward. In fact, they're coming in as a passive owner and they're not going to be taking a salary. So in some cases, they will add back some or all of that salary that you've been taking, and instead of showing it as salary, you get to show it as profit on the bottom line. This scenario would actually increase the overall value of your business. So you, in most cases, like the add backs and the adjustments. Recasted financials are good to look at anyway throughout the year, and most CPAs would be willing and able to provide those recasted financials. Just give them a little bit of time, but also give them a very clear ask. These recasted financials would then be calculated with an industry multiple. Now, this multiple can theoretically multiply whatever number shows as your recasted EBITDA. So if you have a recasted EBITDA of $1 million and an industry multiple says of 2, then a cursory value of your business would be $2 million, or the 1 million times 2, or 2 times EBITDA. Now, the fly in the ointment for many business owners is that the multiples of an industry or a business are not controlled by you or me. They're not controlled by the business owner. Instead, those multiples are really controlled by the private capital markets or the money markets. You can find a range of multiples for most industries on a variety of different valuation databases. Now, the obvious question is then, well, what affects my multiple? How do I get the highest multiple? And how can I be certain to be on the top end of the range of multiples for my industry? The Exit Planning Institute has found that 80% of the value of a business is locked away in the intangibles of the business, what they call the 4 C's. So that's 80% numbers I've given you. 80% of a business owner's net worth is in the business, and 80% of that business is in the intangibles, or the 4 C's. Human capital, that's people. Customer capital, how broad or narrow your customer base is. Structural capital, those are the documented and trained systems and processes, and we as advisors always need to see proof. And then the social capital, or your culture and your brand. Put another more succinct way, your product is not your product. Your process is your product. That's what's going to sell. The following 2 metrics are likely to provide the private capital markets with a more appealing valuation multiple for a business when you look at them. Those 2 are your business attractiveness score, and the second to that is your personal financial readiness score. So think about this. With your recasted financials, we've got that in play, and we put these 2 scores with it, and we've got numbers that we really can work with. Your business attractiveness evaluates both objective and subjective business issues, such as intellectual property, customer concentration, documented systems and processes, company documentation, and management issues, among a lot of other factors that go into that score. Your personal financial readiness assesses your readiness regarding written personal plans, personal financial plans, advisory team members that you have around you advising you, and transition planning, among a lot of other factors again there as well. Too many owners naively think, well, I'll just sell the business when I'm ready to retire. That's far too simplistic for that, and not very thoughtful to the hundreds or thousands of people who will be impacted by your transition. That's right. With a projected 80% of your potential net worth locked away in your business, you owe it to your family to think intentionally through the value and the future transition of your business, whether it's 3 years out, 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years. It's time to start advising and planning now for your exit and your transition. See, you've built something worthy of legacy that others depend on. So make time to metrically and objectively think through the next steps. You need help with this and understanding your business value and what life looks like post-transition, please reach out to us and reach out to a BOP team member at mybusinessonpurpose.com/contact, and let's start owning the value of your business, and let's prepare for transition even when you're not ready.